returning to Utah, and he greets a fan that he had greeted at the arena every game for 5 years. So we know Donovan Mitchell got traded from Utah to Cleveland. He sees his fan, and they share this embrace. That's great. I mean, I love this. I love this. And Mitchell came back last night, had a great game. Cleveland's a very good team, by the way. Had a great game, had 46 points. Not enough, though. Utah Jazz beat the Cavaliers. Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk, joins us. Jay Adonde is here. And I just want to know what you guys, Kurt, I'll start with you. What do you think of that scene? What do you think about Donovan Mitchell returning to the scene where he played for 5 years?
You know what? That was actually really heartwarming. And Donovan's a good guy, like genuinely one of the good guys of the league. And so, like, he has these connections for all his understandable concerns and tensions he's had in Utah. Like, he really did connect with the fans. He really did feel a part of that community. So it was good to see that, you know, the love kind of flow both ways last night. And they went out and dropped 46 on him, like you said, because he's just tearing up everybody.
Trying to break their hearts. Yeah, and it's interesting, Kurt, because, you know, he has spoken about some of the, you know, the racial discrimination that he faced and people of color face in Utah, but he also can single, you know, I think it's a good reminder that when he says these things, when people say these things, it doesn't mean everybody, right? And he has plenty of people and plenty of positive interactions that I'm sure he can cite, but that doesn't mean that some of the negative stuff doesn't happen. Switching the basketball element of this, Kurt. So I always say to win a championship, to really be considered a championship contender, you have to be in the top 6 in point differential, and you have to have one of the top 6 players in the league. In general, if you look at the champions, they fulfill both those categories. Cleveland is second in point differential, and Donovan might not be who you rank in the top 6 in terms of players. There's a lot of great players having great seasons this year, but I think he can get on a run where he can play like a top 6 guy in the playoffs. And do you think those two things could happen? Should we be taking him seriously as a championship contender because some of the indicators are there?
No, not yet. Look, I think they're a contender in a couple of years. Like if we're talking this year, and I think, by the way, you're right. He can get on the, like Chauncey Billups when the Pistons won in 2004. Probably not a top 6 player in the league, played like a top 6 player or top 2 player in the league for a stretch, capable of it. I think that's spot on. I think Donovan's capable of playing at that level, but man, they're not quite there yet. A, I just don't think they've learned to win as a unit. They haven't been through it. B, somebody go get them a 3, man. No offense, Isaac Okoro, but you got to get some. If you're going to get by Boston with Tatum and Brown, and you're going to get by the Bucks with Middleton and everybody else, better go get yourself a wing defender, and they just don't have one right now.
All right, let me try to answer that question though. I'm not gonna say no as quickly as Kurt did, because I've seen them. I know it's regular season.
Because you're from Ohio.
No, that's not. I've lived in Boston longer than I lived in Ohio. I did that math the other day. I was like, wait a minute.
Wow.
To work that out, you got to be of a certain age. Because I was in Ohio for, pretty much 22 years, 23 years. So to work that out, you got to be 50 or plus, 50 plus. Anyway, no, it's not because of Ohio. It's because I've seen the way they play Boston. So Kurt mentioned Boston. Already this year, they played twice. They've lost to them. The Celtics have lost to them twice. And it's that Cleveland does things to them that kind of throw them off a little bit. I think their size gives Boston some problems, although Rob Williams wasn't there. And, they don't have a 3, but they got a backcourt, a pretty explosive backcourt that's going to cause a lot of teams problems. If you look at it, Boston, Milwaukee, and then throw it up between Cleveland and Brooklyn. They got a real shot, Kurt. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
I love them, but I just, push comes to shove, I trust that Kevin Durant guy. I think he's going to be pretty good in the playoffs. Like, I know what he's going to bring day in and day out if he's there.
How concerned are you by this latest knee injury?
Less concerned than the one last year, I think. This is it, not to get into it, not to go medical, but it was an isolated knee sprain on just the MCL, which is much less of a problem than what he had last year that kept him out 20 plus games. And of course, that's when the whole season unraveled. So there is that sense with Brooklyn, right? Like, well, it's all fragile on Kyrie now. What? Yeah, exactly. It's all on Kyrie now. What could possibly go wrong? So, yeah, they are a little more fragile, but I think they've got better depth. He won't be out as long. And by the way, to their advantage, hitting a soft spot in the schedule. Like, they've actually got a kind of soft spot coming up, so they could get a couple of wins under the belt and gain some confidence. But it does feel like every time, doesn't it feel like every time you watch the Nets, you're like, yes, when does the other shoe drop, man?
So, that's their story. Go ahead, Jay.
I wanted to shift out west. Well, first of all, didn't they just have the soft spot in their schedule? Isn't that how they started ramping up all these wins? Was they hit a nice soft spot? Like, how many soft stretches can they have, especially when there's a lot of good teams from players in this league? I want to shift west though. Coming off opening night, to rewind a little bit, I said I was concerned just by the fact that the Phoenix Suns got a shot at the Dallas Mavericks, who put them out last year, and they get their first shot in Dallas. Pounced on them in the first half. Phoenix came back and won that game, but how could you go into that game without the mentality that you absolutely wanted to destroy Dallas? And they didn't have that. And I feel like that's resurfaced, that something's just kind of off with them. And it resurfaced in addition to the injuries. Up until last night when they beat the Warriors, they were on a 9-game losing streak. Things haven't seemed quite right in Phoenix. No. What, when you watch the Suns, seems off to you?
Look, we got to start with the obvious, right? Which is Devin Booker's out. And he's their best, not only the best player, but Father Time's starting to win the race with Chris Paul. As much as I've loved covering Chris Paul over the years, and he's still a great floor general, and his game ages slower because he's such a high IQ player, he's not the same guy. And after that, they've had other injuries. Cam Johnson is out. DeAndre Ayton, though, look, they gave him a max. Booker's out. You can't run an offense through him. You can't. He's a nice big man. Like, he's a quality big man, but you can't treat him like he wants to be treated, like a Joel Embiid or somebody where you can just run the offense through him and get that kind of success. I just don't think they're that well constructed right now. It's kind of all hinges on Booker, and they've got some tweaking and remodeling to do. And by the way, maybe trade Jay Crowder for something that helps you today.
Get that off the checklist, right? It's been on the checklist before the season.
Hey, you're talking about houses out west. You're talking about tweaking or remodeling. I thought you were talking about a house in San Francisco, the Chase Center, where the Golden State Warriors play. And Steph came back last night. He struggled in the beginning, then he heated up after that, but they really didn't look great throughout against those Phoenix Suns. And so what do you expect from the Warriors? Got Steph back, but you look at them in the standings, we've already played half of the season, and they're 500. I mean, they're pretty much right around 500. So Kurt, and then Jay, give me some insight on the Golden State Warriors.
How long are we waiting for them to flip the switch? Because, we've seen them do it, right? Like, we're like, oh, man, we saw them last June.
2 more weeks.
It's like, exactly. Like, we keep giving them, well, yeah, I trust them. There comes a point where Jordan Poole hasn't been quite the same guy. And Steph has been at it. He wasn't obviously last night, but he was like MVP level early on. Clay's played better, but this thing hasn't melded the same way. And you can see how much they miss Otto Porter, Gary Payton II, some of the depth that stepped up for them in the playoffs that they could learn.
Came back to haunt them last night,
and picked up his ring and then was a pain in there. Yeah. They missed that depth. They thought the young guys would step up and do it. Kuminga's slowly starting to come around, but Wiseman and Moody certainly aren't. And they're talking about a team that needs, I know how far over the cap they are, and they don't have a lot of trade assets, but they feel like they need to find a way, maybe through the buyout market. They got to get somebody in there and get some depth, because I just don't feel that with them right now. And you can say they're saying the core 7, the core 6 is back from last year, but it just hasn't clicked the same way. And I'm losing patience. I'm not like off the bandwagon like I am with the Clippers or something, but I'm losing patience.
I am. Well, both them
you,
and the Clippers have both Warriors and the Clippers have a negative point differential, and that again, that's not the marking of a champion. You know, with the Clippers, I just don't think you can have guys come in and out of the lineup throughout the season and expect to build any type of continuity or camaraderie and know who you are, right? If their lineup changes on a nightly basis, you can't really know who you are. And with the Warriors, Kurt, you're saying they need to make additions. Maybe they need to stop thinking in terms of right now. And, you know, they've talked about famously the two timelines and the simultaneous timelines. Maybe you say, hey, that's really an unprecedented approach to try to both win now and build for the future. And it happened last year. Maybe you say, you know what? We maybe got one more championship than we expected to, or really had a right to earn with this group, with this core group. And now let's start putting ourselves in position for the next run. You know, maybe it's time to say, hey, it's been a great run, you guys, but it's over. And we're going to start making moves to position ourselves, to start to get under this prohibitive luxury tax penalty that they're paying, right? And start positioning themselves to be a contender for years to come rather than right now.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. But how would you do that? I mean, where do you start to make? Because that first move is going to be controversial, no matter what it is. That first move you make, like where are you going?
I know where you're going. I was thinking the same thing.
Trade Draymond is the move, because he's the guy you got to pay next. He's the guy you got to pay next. And by the way, somebody's going to overpay for him, because I don't want to. He's not a system player. He's a good player, but he's got to be used in a specific manner to really get the most out of him. You can't just plug and play him like a lot of guys. And somebody's going to overpay thinking, oh, man, some owner is going to come into their GM. Man, go get him. And they're going to regret it, because he's not going to – it's going to look like Atlanta, where, we'll just go get DeJounte Murray. It'll all be good. No problems. And it's not always that way. But if you're going to move on, that's the move. You move on from Draymond. I still think, though, I'm not quite there yet, because I still think in a West where nobody has run away with it. I mean, Denver's good, Memphis is good, but the Warriors could still win this thing, man. I still think the Warriors could get to the finals and make a run. I'm like not ready to throw in the towel on this core yet. And that's also not my money, so I'm kind of happy to just throw it away.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let me just say this. If you threw it out there, trade Draymond. You said not yet, but if you got to do something like that, you start with Draymond. Would you do that this year?
This summer?
Let's say the 2 weeks. Let's say my 2 weeks are up.
If he comes up,
and they're still playing 500, and they're still playing 500 ball 2 weeks from now.
Would you
do it?
I might canvas around to see what you could get. It feels like a summer move, but they've got to pay him. Remember, he's
also
eligible.
more valuable this year, right? I think his value is higher specifically because there are so many teams that could have a legitimate shot at it and might just be a Draymond away. And he could be the difference between going to the finals, winning a championship, and not making it to the finals, right? I think there's a number of teams you can make a case that if they had a guy like Draymond Green with all the experience and all the things he can do for you, that can make the difference in this wide open season. So I think his value, what you can get in return from, will never be higher than it is right now.
How much could Miami use him at the 4 right about now?
Ooh.
Yeah, there's a problem, but you're right. There's a lot of teams.
I love it. I love this. Just it's a good problem to have in a sense. You're the Warriors, because you know look what Boston did last year. Boston got up to a start like this, similar to this, in the first 30, 40 games. Nobody was thinking about them, and then finish strong, make it to the finals and lose to the Warriors. All right, so could the Warriors do the same thing? Or you got to go back and forth. All right, can we do this? We know we won it last year. Nobody saw us coming, and we knocked everybody out. Or do we get ahead of it and move on and transition to these young guys? I don't know. But I do know this. Scoring in the NBA is not like anything. I said this to Donde off the top. When we were covering the league back in the day, back in the fabulous 1990s, it wasn't like this. I mean, you had a 20-point score. That was special. Yeah, if your top scorer averaged 21 or 22, ooh, pretty good player. Now at 21, 22, Yeah, man, but you're not averaging 35 like Luka. You know, you got a bunch of guys averaging over 30. You got a bunch of guys 25 and above. Jay, I'll start with you. Like, to what do we attribute this scoring spike?
Well, I think you had your answer if you watched the Miami Heat game last night, in which they went 40 of 40 from the free throw line to set a new NBA record as a team. And Jimmy Butler was 23 of 23, one short of the individual record of makes without a miss in a game. And to me, that reflects the skill level, the abundant skill level that's out there. Again, we wouldn't call Jimmy Butler a top 6 player. We wouldn't call him one of the top shooters in the league. And yet he's able to put on a performance like that from the line, and the Heat collectively were able to be perfect from the free throw line in 40 attempts. And I think it just reflects the abundance of skill that you can find throughout the league.
I think the other thing that goes with that in an era of floor spacing and shooting is it allows a Jimmy Butler, or actually I think Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer said the other day, 55 guys are averaging over 20 points a game. I don't know if that's accurate or if they're on pace for that. That's
there it is. There's a tweet right there.
Producer Garrett sent me that out. That's absolutely insane. But I think what happens is if you're outspacing the floor and, hey, I got to have my bigs covering, I can't just have a guy packing the paint, I can't play it in combined with the three-point shot. Suddenly, though, all these skill players can get in isolation, can get by their guy. The help is slow. Now you're kicking to open guys. Guys are just getting cleaner looks. You're shooting it from efficient spots on the floor. I think the modern game kind of just lends itself to this, right? We're going to pick up the pace. We're going to go fast. We're going to give the ball to our best player and just let him. We're going to pick a matchup and let Luka go.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'd like to land the plane on this, Adonde, going back to your point. And you mentioned, and I agree with you, what do you need to be considered a legitimate champion, a reliable champion? Well, got to have a top 6 player or somebody playing like a top 6 player. Point differential has to be up there. You didn't mention defense. I wasn't thinking defense. But when we get to, like, we've been trained to say, oh, yeah, this guy can play on offense, but he's a bad defender, or this team can't defend. Does that matter? Because it seems like nobody really can defend for long stretches when you look at these scoring numbers. Does that matter as much as it used to?
Well, my point differential reflects defense, right? So it's a component of that. So I'm not saying ignore defense completely. And again, we saw the value of Draymond Green, who doesn't give you a lot offensively, but can do just enough, right? But the fact that there are no defensive specialists out there, it seems like, right? Even if you're Draymond Green, you're not asked to, but like, they're more effective. You got to be able to knock down a 3-pointer here and there to make it work.
Amen.
You got to take the ball to the basket now and then to make it work. There are no guys out there like, I think back to Kurt, remember Reggie Evans with the Clippers, who was just tough, aggressive, would get you a bunch of rebounds, but he wasn't even thinking about shooting the basketball.
Yeah.
And I can't think of an equivalent of him in today's game. Can you?
No, and you can't have that guy out there. Last playoffs, the Sixers really needed Matisse Thybulle's defense on the floor at points, and they couldn't keep him out there because he was just getting exploited on the offensive end. Nobody would cover him. Suddenly, everybody else is going 5-on-4, and Doc couldn't keep him on the floor.
Well, wasn't that the case? So, I mean, didn't that happen to Draymond last year in the finals? I think it was a critical. Was it game
Well, then
4?
he finally started scoring. I think if you look in the clinching game, he was aggressive offensively, right? And you're right. One of the key stretches for them, they had him on the bench in the fourth quarter because he was an offensive liability.
So, I mean, I guess he's that guy, but we're talking about how it still comes back to him. We're saying he's important, but if the game has changed and it has taken away some of his effectiveness, because like he's not the guy. Draymond's not the guy he was 5 years ago scoring wise. He hadn't scored in double figures in 5 years, 4 or 5 years. He was like, he used to be able to give you 13, 14 points a game, really effective. And now what do we have these? What's that stat? It's a Draymond stat now where it's like what is that? Like a double. It's like a double-double. It's a double-double, but he doesn't score. That's what it is. It's like assists and rebounds. But he's giving you 6 points, 12 boards, 12 assists. Okay, I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you can do that in this NBA and have your team be happy with you. But I'll tell you who we are happy with. Kurt Helin, always good to see you, man. Thanks for talking some ball with us
Always good to see you guys.
You're always welcome here. I love your daughter's background there. Is that your daughter's room?
With back in the daughter's room. Hey, she's out in Santa Barbara trying to deal with college and flooding campuses. So, you know, I'm borrowing the room.
Okay. Well, good to see you, man. I hope the remodeling turns out all right at your house. It always goes longer than it's supposed to, doesn't it? Hey, it'll only be a couple months.
Word to that.
It'll be a few months. 6 months later, you're still there.
And it costs more.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.